I think George Washington said it best when he said, the reason why we are fighting this war against the world's #1 military is because we want the best internet radio in the world. That's why every week we do the Mike Sasson Show. Hi, my name is Mike Sasson. I am the host of the Mike Sasson Show, and happy Independence Day. It is Independence Day week here in America. If you're listening in America, happy 4th of July. If you're listening outside of this country, thank you very much for listening to the show. And you are going to hear proof of why I am confident that America has the greatest internet radio. Again, thank you for listening to The River's Edge, the best music, the best talk. You're listening at www.riversedgepgh.com, or you're watching us on Facebook or Facebook Live, or you're watching us on YouTube, or you're listening to us on the TuneIn Radio app, or you are listening to us on any of this podcast formats, either Google Play, SoundCloud, or iTunes. On this week's beautiful episode of The Mike Sasson Show, we celebrate the 4th of July by asking a few questions about America. Also, I fix soccer in America. You're welcome, because I'm sick and tired of America not having a good soccer team. So I'm going to fix that in my segment. I'll fix this. Also, Alex is going to talk about in Bar Thoughts and Experiences about what would happen if you met your future self. So we'll have that. Also, we're going to talk about in Fresh Eyes. I had Alex watch some Billy Joel videos, and I did some research on Billy Joel. Dear God, could this man get some beautiful women? I'm going to go over one story that blew my mind. It was incredible. Also, according to a study, there are 2 words that women love to hear in bed. I will reveal those 2 words later in this show. Again, you are listening to The River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com. Over there is Alex Clemens, the greatest producer in the history of internet radio. If you want to, over the 4th of July weekend, visit the Internet Radio Hall of Fame. You can go visit it currently outside of a Publix in Savannah, Georgia. Again, Alex, thank you very much for joining us today. Hey. Again, a couple news that just came over the wire. I know it's that if you're listening on Tuesday, then you already know this, but if you're listening on Sunday or you're watching on Sunday, you might not know this. Cleveland sucks at basketball again because LeBron James is now an LA Laker.
Oh, damn.
Yes. So, again, our sports expert, Alex Clemens, your reaction.
That was my reaction. Oh, damn.
Oh, damn. Are you like happy for LeBron or unhappy for Cleveland, or what's your thoughts?
I don't know. How old is he now?
33.
Okay, he's still young. I don't know. I kind of feel bad for Cleveland, to be honest.
I feel a little sad, but not as sad as the first time.
Does LA really need one more good thing? Like, couldn't they just keep that in Cleveland?
Yeah, but I think LeBron just looked at his team and was just like, you know what? If I'm going to be mediocre, which really means that I go to the finals every year in the East and lose to the Golden State Warriors, then I might as well live on a beach.
Yeah, maybe he just wants some sun.
I think that might be it. But, I'm not one of these Cleveland haters in Pittsburgh that's like, hey, you hate Cleveland.
Right, it's a pretty cool place.
Yeah, every time I go to Cleveland, I have a good time because usually I watch the Steelers win. But, no, so I'm not here to say, oh, I'm happy that Cleveland stinks at basketball again. But, by the way, you now do stink at basketball again. That's not a good thing, but we'll talk about that. Also, again, we're celebrating the 4th of July. So, in celebrating the 4th of July, I asked myself a couple of questions. I said, self, take a review. We're a 242-year-old country right now, which is it's really easy for me to figure out how old America is because they were 200 the year I was born. So I just add how old I am and then a little bit more. So a little hint of how I know that. It's not because I researched it all, but 242 years ago. And so I asked some questions about America. So first and foremost, I want to say, I found what I felt were the 2 most patriotic pictures that I could find on the internet. The first one, Alex, I believe, is a man in a scooter with an American flag shooting a giant automatic weapon.
With a lot of fast food in his little cart there in a Walmart bag.
Yes, I believe that, like when I sat there and I just Googled the term America, that came up and I was like, you know what? As much as I love the bald eagle, I believe that a man who I've always been intrigued by the person at the Walmart who, I mean, if you're elderly, I get it, you're old and it's a giant facility, but if you're under the age of 60 and you require a scooter to get around a shopping plaza, I would say lay off the Mountain Dew. But it doesn't stop them. They still do it, and it's beautiful, and that's what America's about. America's about, you know what? Hey, I still want my Pop-Tarts, and I'm going to ride a scooter in order to get them when walking has officially kicked my ass. And then the second picture I found, which I thought was a little bit more patriotic, was George Washington, the father of our country, dunking a basketball over Kim Jong-un while Abraham Lincoln is boxing out Joseph Stalin. Which I think, if you're sitting there saying, Mike, if there's a picture of America, I would say that's it. George Washington playing a sport that had not yet been invented when he was alive, and Abraham Lincoln playing a sport, which I believe Abraham Lincoln would have been a good hoopster. He was like 6'4". Which, by the way, two of our tallest presidents, 6'2", George Washington, and 6'4", Abraham Lincoln, which brings up to the point.
Yeah. I knew George Washington was that tall. I had no idea.
Well, that was the whole big deal about George Washington back in like 1776 was there's debate on whether he was the richest president ever. Because if you put into what his wealth was back then into modern money, he was a multi-billionaire. Because the way he owned, land and all that kind of stuff, he was really just a super rich dude. And on top of that, he was a very distinguished man, and he was about 6'2". And this was when the average person was, I believe, 3'9". So being 6'2" would be today like being 7 feet tall.
Just a fucking giant.
He was a giant of a man, which always was weird to me because like you talk about meeting your future self. George Washington today would be a decently tall man, but he wouldn't like tower over people. Like there's always stories about like historical figures about how tall they were. Like William Wallace, who like they made Braveheart about. He was supposed to have been a giant of a human being. And it turns out he was like 6'6" or 6'7" maybe, which again is a tall man, but not like an enormous giant. But back in like, the early, 1200s of Scotland, being 6'8" was insane. So yeah, he was a monster of a human being.
Right.
And that's why I always figure that me being 6'4", if I was 6'4" back in like 1776, I believe there's a good chance they would have made me at least Secretary of State. Like with no qualifications, just being a 6'4" person that could speak decently, I think they would have probably thought that, hey, you go negotiate with the French, you go do that. So I think it's always one of those things of like, if I was this size in like the 1500s, I think that I would have been a much bigger catch because of the fact that people would have been like, oh my God, he knows where the food is, get me a piece of that. Type deal.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah. Same thing with Abraham Lincoln. He was actually thought to be, again, a gigantic human being at 6'4". But a couple of the questions that I asked was, is America still number one? People always talk about, and anytime you ever talk to anybody, sometimes you say, oh, America's the greatest country in the world. And then somebody goes, I don't believe that any nation that is like 52nd in like childhood obesity or some like stat could be the greatest country in the world.
Right.
And here's what my answer would be to that. We are still the number one economic force in the world. We are still the number one military. We are still the number one culture. I mean, everywhere in the world, they're playing hip hop, they're wearing blue jeans, they're eating McDonald's, they love our culture, and we're the number one still in innovation. If anything comes out new in this world, it typically came from the United States, or it went to Japan, and then we kind of made it cooler. Because that's one of the things we do. We're the greatest in marketing. We're the greatest marketers in the world. We can market anything, and that's one of the things that makes us a great nation. And we're also the land of tremendous deals. This week, I found that out. I got a new pair of shoes.
Okay.
And when I got the new pair of shoes, they had the deal of like, oh well, you know, if you get these pairs of shoes, you can buy one get one free socks. But like the initial sock purchase would have been like $12.
Right.
And I'm like, no, that's too much for socks. So I went over to a Walmart and I'm like, okay, I'll just get cheap socks because I don't really care. And I'm like, I'm always on the lookout for just regular shirts because I just wear regular, you know, dude shirts and stuff like that.
Yes.
And so I found these shirts. The shirt I am currently wearing, retail value, $3.
Wow.
$3 shirts. I bought like 4. How can you $12 for one shirt? Less than a McDonald's like hamburger. I bought a shirt. That is amazing to me.
Where are you getting these things?
This is just Walmart.
Oh.
Just on a rack. It's just Hanes shirts.
Imagine that.
But the thing about it is that I believe, again, because I'm turning everything into like a question. Is it good for America to have $3 shirts? Because the reason why we have $3 shirts is because we make them in a country where we don't have environmental controls and we don't have, you know, these people are not getting paid, you know, amazing amounts. And so the question is, and I think this is always the big question with America is, okay, do you want $3 shirts or do you want some woman in Ohio to be making shirts? Because if a woman in Ohio makes the shirt, then all of a sudden that person wants benefits, that person, they need environmental controls, all that other kind of good stuff, hence ending $3 shirts.
Well, I think it's maybe good for us, just not good for the people in the other countries who have to, you know, work in those conditions.
But the thing is, they always interview these people and they're just like, yeah, we don't have anything else. And so it's like either farm or make, you know, shirts for Americans. And guess what? In our perspective, the shirt isn't that bad.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons like people say, oh, we make all this stuff in China. They're even moving manufacturing from China right now because they're starting to ask about like, hey, can we get benefits? Can we cut the workday? This is kind of crappy. This other stuff. So that's why a lot of stuff's even made in like Vietnam now. It's like they just keep moving it to places that they're like, yeah, we'll make the cheap shirts. So again, that's first question. Is America still number one? Yeah, with a number one economy, number one military, number one culture, number one innovation, and the land of $3 shirts. Another question that I always get with, and I always get a little upset with, is people who always claim that they're real Americans. They always sit there and they'll be like, you know, I work for a living and I pay my time. I'm a real American. And then politicians always go to these places and they're always standing behind an American flag, like, you know what? These are the good folks. These are the real people. And they're like, woo, we're a real American. Here's the official Mike Sasson declaration. If you were born in this country or you moved in this country and you're a citizen in this country, guess what? You're a real American. The person who wears pink booty shorts walking around Midtown Manhattan, that's a real American. The doctor who lives in Beverly Hills, that's a real American. That's all it means. Because one of the things that always upset me is, especially growing up in Pittsburgh, a place that everyone always talked about, like, you know, you're a real Pittsburgher if you drink your Iron City and eat your kielbasa and all this kind of stuff. And I'd just be like, I don't drink Iron City and I don't eat kielbasa that much and I don't swing a sledgehammer. I'm as proud as anyone to be from Western Pennsylvania. That's why I always got upset. Like, no, just because you do these things does not mean that you are quote unquote a real Pittsburgher. And the same reason why if you work in a factory or you work in a coal mine does not make you a real American. It just makes you an American that works in a coal mine.
Right.
So there, we get rid of that. So officially, you're a real American if you live here or you're from here or you are a citizen of this country. Then guess what? You're a real American no matter what you do. And then the other thing is, Mike, I look at this country right now and I'm saying, Mike, we're so divided as a country. Have we ever been this divided? Yes, we have. We fought a civil war. That's how divided we were at one point.
Yeah.
We actually, in one part of the country, invaded the other part of the country and fought a war for 4 years. That was more divided than people on Twitter don't like each other.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. I would say that. And even like in the early 70s and late 60s when you had like riots and you had like all that kind of, that was more divided than now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's just like more of us now. So like
I just think it's everything comes down to this is the era in which we live in. And so everyone, when they live in the era they live in, they believe that this is the worst time.
Right.
Because they always look back at their past and be like, oh, remember, yeah, you were a kid. Nothing happened then. No one expected you to do anything. Yeah. You didn't pay attention. So, and remember that fact because actually that brings up a Billy Joel song later. But you know, it's linking everything together. And then the last question is, can America be saved? And my answer to that is yes, if good people don't let bad people take care of everything. The problem with when you're a good person is sometimes you get a little passive and you're just like, oh, whatever. Yeah, I really do anything. And then bad people who are kind of like arrogant and like aggressive, they're the ones who kind of go out and do stupid shit. And so that's what people have to do. If you're a good person, you got to make your voice known. Because remember this, and this is one thing that I'm not trying to make this a heavy part of the show, but because it's the 4th of July, I just think it needs to be said, Alex. Okay. I saw this picture of this woman screaming at this, Mexican-American kid, screaming at him, saying, we're going to deport your family and all this other kind of stuff. And they showed the picture. And one thing that like, there was a caption of it is like, okay, this looks a heck of a lot like 1955 Little Rock.
Yeah.
Or 1968 Chicago. And the question I have to ask anybody at any time is, what part of history do you want to be? Like, if you learned that there was, your great-great-great-grandfather fought for the British in the American Revolution, you wouldn't be that happy with it. If you found out that your father or your grandfather or your father's father was part of the team that put together the internment camps for the Japanese, you wouldn't be that happy with it.
Right.
You would be like, oh, that's a really embarrassing part of our past. So the question is every day, where do you want to be when they tell the story? Because let's be honest, things move forward. It's not the progress of human society is more freedom, more diversity. If you're the one stopping it, eventually you're just going to be viewed as being part of the problem that they eventually overcame. And so remember, how do you want to be? Because I always feel bad for her, not bad for her because, screw her. But like, there's like kids and pictures in like the 50s screaming at black children going into like elementary schools. And I'm like, for the rest of your life, you're the symbol of intense racism.
Right.
And like, for the rest of your life, that's your thing. Because it's not like she went and eventually like cured polio or anything like that. No, she's the girl who yelled at the 9-year-old girl going into the elementary school. Yeah. That was what you were for the rest of humanity. So congratulations. It's the same thing here. Are you going to be the one that held the sign saying, keep him out? When 100 years from now, everyone looks back at this time being like, what was our problem? What was the big deal? Again, we're still number one, but part of being number one is that we're always moving forward. One reason we're always moving forward is that Alex loves to drink, and that's why she has her own segment called Bar Thoughts and Experiences with Alex. She asked the question, what if you met your future self? She asked that question, and then on top of that, she might even have answered it. It's the Mike Sasson Show. You're listening to The River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com. We will be right back. Take a ride with us with The River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com, or you are watching us on TuneIn Radio, or you are just hearing lots of buzzes and all sorts of stuff. It's all gravy. It's all good. It's all audio. I hope you're enjoying it. Again, this is the Mike Sasson Show. Thank you very much to listeners all over the planet Earth. You might be listening on TuneIn Radio or on any of the podcast formats, either SoundCloud, Google Play, or iTunes, or you might be listening just right now on Facebook Live. There's so many different things. And again, happy anniversary to America from the point when they told England to basically go kiss my ass. It's one of the most amazing stories in the history of the world, the 4th of July. I was watching John Adams. Sam Adams would have been a better story because he was his cousin who was like a drunk, which is awesome. He wasn't a drunk, he just made beer. But one of the things that I thought was amazing was the fact of the matter, it wasn't like this unified force to where everyone's like, yeah, let's declare war on the biggest country in the world militarily. And by the way, we all consider ourselves English.
Yeah.
No, there was a lot of people who were like, yeah, this is a bad idea. We might not do well and we all might be killed for treason. But they won. That's the key. So if you're going to commit treason, win. I guess that's the point.
That is the moral.
That's the moral. Also, the moral is if you're drinking,
write down what you're thinking, and then maybe you can have a bar thought and experience, just like Alex, and she gets to play a song when she does it. It's Bar Thoughts and Experiences.
Maybe y'all can relate. My style's dope any way that you slice it. It's a fresh cut, hope that you like it.
All right, Mike. So, a couple weeks ago, I was drinking with one of my friends.
Sounds unusual for you, but go ahead.
And we were at this taco place. Doesn't matter that it's a taco place.
It does, because now I'm thinking of tacos, and after the show I might get tacos.
Okay. Well, you're welcome. So he saw this man across from us, and he thought to himself, that's exactly what I'm going to look like in my future.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is the exact person. Like, that's what I would be wearing, and like really reminded himself of him future self.
Okay.
So we started discussing what he would do if that was his future self, and like his future self came up to him and like introduced himself, you know, and what he would do. And I asked him the question of, if your future self came back in time and met you, didn't say that they were your future self just yet.
Okay.
Being your future self, would you try and have sex with your younger self?
What? Would I try to have sex with a man who is me?
Yes.
No.
But what if you, in the future, were a woman?
So
and
I
you
just
came
became,
back. Mm-hmm.
I came back as a
say
woman.
everyone in the future is a woman.
Everyone, they just decided, like, on a Tuesday, everyone's going to be a woman. Which, to be honest,
Because that could happen.
Honestly, if a few people have their way, I could see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I would probably say that I could do better than me.
You wouldn't want to just like see how you were?
I know how I am. I've been me. I'd go get somebody else.
Yeah, but you don't know.
You don't want to see you as a dude. Okay, well, let's do the flip. If you're a dude, would you want to have sex with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
You would perform sex acts on your future self, who is a man. Who, by the way, if it's in the future, he'd be like a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
Okay, so 40-year-old Alex.
I didn't really say how far in the future, but
Okay.
Absolutely. That way I know.
I thought this was gonna be like a very what would you ask your future self, or what would you, if you could go visit your past self, would your past self be proud of you at this point, and all that other kind of stuff.
So if in the future they create a time machine and you're able to go back to any time in your life and just like talk to your younger self, when would you go back to?
Probably college.
College?
Yeah.
Would you like tell them anything?
You're asking a very kind of profound question that I've asked myself on several occasions, because the fact that it took me until later in life to choose this path, I've always thought to myself, what if right after college, I just would have said, screw it, and I would have moved to New York City, and I would have started stand-up comedy when I was 23 years old in 2000 and just went for it. Where would I be in 2018? Would I be, a national touring comedian? Would I be one of the biggest writers? Would I have sucked and quit? What would I be? Or, if at 22 or 23, the girls that I was chasing in college, one of them would have said yes, would have gotten married, would I be living in, blah, 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 and then, having kids, and, they'd be teenagers now and all this other kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different things that I would say. So, but I've ultimately, at least to make myself feel better, I believe that my past self would be proud of me for a couple things. Number one, that I look good, because there's a lot of people that I went to college with who don't look good right now. And you know who you are. Anyways, also that there's a lot of people that are doing, in my opinion, like they've got like lame jobs, like they're senior vice president of marketing for a taco distributing corporation in New Mexico, and I'm just like, okay, great. I'm doing cool radio and comedy and stuff like that. That's cool. Like, I like the path that I'm on. But like it also comes back to, am I too late? Like, there was this story of a fellow comic, Seneca Stone, who we had on.
Yeah.
He was emceeing at a comedy show, and a very, very, not very famous, but a person you'd kind of know, comic, which, His name Kevin Brennan. Anyway, so he basically went up to him, like he hadn't talked to him the whole weekend, and he came up to him and sat there and went, "Hey, how old are you?" And I don't know how old Seneca is. I think he's like his early 30s. So it's like, "Oh, 31." And he looked at him and goes, "Oh, you're too late." And then he walked away. And I literally said to Seneca, like, if that would have happened to me, I would have said, "No, you're too late, because the reason why you're not famous is because you're not funny," which he's not. But like, why would you go up to someone and say, "Oh, you're too late"? Because again, you're just a jerk. But then also, there's a part of me that sits there and says, "Okay, am I going to be facing for the my entire life people just sitting there going, 'Oh, Mike, you're just too late'?" That kind of stuff. I don't know.
What if your future self has already come back and talked to you and you didn't even realize it? Like, they didn't say that they were there.
That's one of the weird.
But they gave you advice, and now that's why you are where you are.
Well, that's one of the things I've always asked myself is if there are like time machines.
Right.
I would bet you if there were time machines, you'd have to go with a guide. And they would have to sit there and be like, "Okay, here's the deal. Don't talk to anybody. You can walk around if you want, And so, like, if you meet someone that's kind of weird, or you meet someone that's kind of whatever. Like, if I could go back in time and go back to like the early 70s and meet, David Letterman at the Comedy Store in 1975, I would have to make sure that I wouldn't sit there and say, "Oh, by the way, you're going to become a millionaire broadcaster."
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to just be
that
like...
That might change things, or he might just be freaked out.
Yeah, I would just have to sit there and be like, "Nice set." Yeah. So I don't know, sometimes maybe when someone, like, I have like a bad set, or not a bad set, but just like a set that isn't up to my standards, but someone comes up to me and like goes, "Oh, that was a great set," I'm hoping they're from the future, and I'm just such an amazing entertainer that they want to just sit there and like thank me for my future amazing comedy.
Yeah.
And so they just want to sit there and like say something. So I go, "Oh, I appreciate it." Like, for instance, like we talked about last week when me and Colin got the two girls to come up to us and like they treated us like we were Justin Bieber. Maybe those are super fans from the future.
And they're like, "Oh my God, we get to meet them like their younger selves." That's so cool.
That's so cool. And so like they sat there and like we even asked them like, "Hey, post it on social media and tag us," and they didn't.
And they're like, "What is social media?
Yeah.
We're way past that shit."
Yeah, but then the problem is they haven't. Maybe they did in the future. And they were just like, "Hey, this is the future," whatever. Or like, for instance, maybe your future children have met you and maybe bought you a drink or maybe something like that, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But see, that's the thing. Maybe your future self, or like you said, your future children have come back, but they are not allowed to tell you that's who they are.
Yeah.
And then I don't know.
Because
you accidentally sleep with one of them.
It's so weird because one little decision, one little like I've often thought that, I went up to you at a bar and just started talking to you. If on that day I just don't talk to you, maybe this show doesn't exist.
Yeah. Our lives probably would have been fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that like the world would have been like insanely different, but theoretically.
What if that one thing like made everything go to shit?
Well, but that's the whole point of like the butterfly effect. Like they say that, a butterfly can affect like, flapping of the wings can eventually cause like the earth to move. I don't even know the butterfly effect. But the thing is that, okay, one thing could change the whole aspect of life. You walk in front of a bus, or you stop at the, to get a cup of coffee. You don't know. Instead of walking into a store that blows up, or you sit there and for some reason you forget to set your alarm that day. You don't know.
See, I think that if I was my future self, or just now, I would really appreciate like my future self coming back and being like, "Hey, Alex, you're doing great."
But what if everything turned to utter crap? Maybe they come back and go, "Alex, you should have done X, and because you didn't do X, you're now living in a world of terrible life."
Alex, you need to save the future world.
You need to just save yourself. You need
adventure.
to like, you're just, you didn't take any decisions, and this is why that happened. But the funny thing is about it is like, I do believe if you don't make a decision, there's a reason for that. It's not like you could sit there and say, "Mike, if you would have talked to that girl when you were in college, maybe that was the one." But yeah, I'd be married, and maybe I'm the vice president of Budweiser in Cleveland, Ohio right now. Which, great. I'd probably be 400 pounds. I'd drive a giant car. My kids would be, in football, and they'd be chubby too because we'd all
400 pounds, yeah.
Well, I mean, pretty close to it. And then we'd just be sitting in a giant house, and I'd just be waiting through my second heart attack. Instead, I'm sitting here as felt as, any obese man could possibly hope, and I'm doing the most amazing internet radio show ever. So
That's
you
true.
just don't know. All you could do in your life is just make the decisions based upon. That's why I believe, and I know this sounds arrogant, I could totally be president. Because people always go, oh, I could never be president. All you do is essentially sit there, you get a bunch of people in a room, and they go, okay, something happened. You're like, okay, well, what should we do? And they go, well, this guy thinks this should happen. This guy thinks this should happen. This guy should think this should happen. And then you go, we'll go with this guy. And then you move forward. And if it turns to shit, then you go, okay, well, let's change course and let's do this. They're all people. That's what it is.
I just don't like to upset people that much.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I know that you don't.
I don't mind it at all.
I don't like upsetting people.
I'm actually kind of for it.
It's my least favorite thing.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, and I appreciate you bringing up future selves because that is a different perspective on life, especially considering you went right to would you have sex with yourself?
And I would.
Well, let me ask you this question, if we even go with that. Future
Alex is gonna be hot as shit. So.
Okay, but let's say future Alex children. They don't even realize you're you because, again, 20, 30 years from now, all of a sudden your son comes up to you and says, hey, there's a hot chick at the bar.
That's what I'm saying.
Saying what?
What if that happens?
Then it's the Back to the Future thing.
Yeah.
It's weird. There was a College Humor video in which actually Marty McFly actually did screw his mother. And they were just like, it was funny because they just kept on going, you're not supposed to have sex with your mother. I'm like, I know, but she looks so good.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. It's funny.
That might happen.
Who knows?
But, would it really, affect anything?
Other than your son would have to go through years of therapy learning that he had sex with 23-year-old, 24-year-old
What if no one
mother.
ever told him?
He
never finds out. It just happens, and then he never
But then
finds
one day
out.
you're sitting there at breakfast and you look at your son in a certain way.
And we have this weird chemistry, and it's like, wait,
what?
am I having crazy deja vu right now, or have I slept with my son before?
That's why the movie Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme is more of a cautionary tale about the power of time travel. It's not just an action movie. It's a think piece.
A think piece. I think that would be a really cool podcast if we could invent a time machine,
Yeah, that's what we would do if we could invent a time machine is go do a podcast.
Yeah, and then all we do is...
Not use that knowledge to become wealthy or anything that.
No. We keep it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And all we do is go back in time to different points in our past lives and talk to ourselves. And that's all we do on the podcast.
Yeah.
That sounds great to me. I would listen to that shit.
All you would talk to if you talked to 18-year-old Mike he would just be like, I'll do anything, just buy me a pizza or something.
Yeah, maybe we should just go back in my life.
Yeah, we would just talk about what, yeah, my dad's kind of a jerk, but we had pie last night, which was fun. That'd be every point of my life.
Yeah.
And then me just me worrying because the next day I had to go run 50 gassers for football.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, mine might be better.
Yeah.
In that.
It's probably one of the reasons why I didn't become a comedian when I was 23 because I just would have done 20 minutes
pie
on
jokes.
Yeah, pizza. I just would have gone up there and be like, yeah, I'm just getting through this until someone gives me money for pizza. If someone just gives me pizza now, I'll just leave the stage.
I'll leave.
Just someone get me a pizza.
Everyone throws pizza at you every night.
I just get off the
stage. That's your thing,
yeah. Yeah, and I just get off the stage.
Yep.
And I just invent a new form of
pizza
comedy.
guy.
Pizza guy. There you go. Boom. Win victory. Thank you very much, Alex, for your bar thought and experience.
Yeah, sure.
Next up, it's my new segment called I'll Fix That, where this week I fix U.S. men's soccer. Play my song. Now, Alex, I know you're a huge sports fan, and you realize that we are in the middle of the biggest sporting event on the planet, the World Cup.
The hottest sporting event in the world.
Keep that in mind, because I think that's one of the keys to what I'm fixing this week.
I'm so ready, Mike.
Okay, because here's the deal. U.S. men's soccer is not in the World Cup. And all these little douchey countries are in it. We're the number one country in the world. We're not even in the World Cup.
Why are we calling them douchey?
Because they're small and all that kind of stuff. You know, they have like 17 people in them.
Stupid reason.
I don't know. I have lots of.
They have
stupid
17
reasons.
people in them, and they're able to have a soccer team in the World Cup. That seems the opposite of douchey. That seems like the coolest thing in the whole entire world.
Well, the problem is they that's all they focus on. We focus on like more like cool things, like putting beer in our cheese and then doing Burger King type stuff.
Yes, that's all we focus on.
Which, by the way, you know, you get beer cheese now on burgers at Burger King.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you do. You get beer cheese. You can get beer cheese, Budweiser beer cheese on your Whopper.
What?
Yeah.
Why wasn't this bigger news?
They have commercials
Why
and stuff.
wasn't this the first thing that you talked about? I almost got Burger King today, and I didn't.
And you didn't get you see it. It's like an America burger. It has like cheddar cheese on, but it's like beer cheese.
God damn it. I
know. See, this is what your future self would have told you to do.
Mm-hmm. Go to Burger King. Don't go to Subway, Alex. You're going to have to wait in line for 15 minutes.
Did you go to Subway too? I went to Subway for lunch too, and I am so upset with the person in front of me always has like 92 sandwiches the person has to get, and each and every sandwich has some unique little thing, and I'm just like, I think there should be separate lines. One line for people that have 97 sandwiches and like an express line for me because I know what I want. I want one sandwich. I know exactly what I want, and I can get out of there in like 10 seconds.
There was one girl working at the Subway today, and like 6 people in front of me.
And I bet you there's always the one mom who's buying Subway sandwiches for her entire family, and she's like, I want one, it's the roast beef, but I want the green peppers, not the spicy peppers, and I want the cheese, but I want it on the side because she likes to add it, and then I just want this, and I'm just like...
The people in front of me were splitting a foot long, and so they wanted different things on each side.
They get 2 6 inches.
Oh yeah, that angered me. And also, so I typically get a meatball sub.
Okay.
So today,
what do you get on the meatball sub?
Banana peppers and onions.
Okay.
But today I was like, I want to be a little healthier. I don't want that much bread, so I decided to get on a wrap, and it's like $4 more.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
And the wraps actually have calorically about the same as the bread.
Yeah, but it tasted really good. I got a habanero wrap with it. It was delicious, but, you know.
Meatball hoagies are one of the most underrated of the hoagie family. What's your favorite meatball hoagie?
What do you mean?
Like, where do you get your favorite meatball hoagie?
Oh, I don't really have a place that's ever been my favorite.
You've got to get a favorite meatball hoagie place.
Yeah, I should. I just don't ever really get them places besides Subway.
See, I'm trying to save you from that, and also trying to save U.S. soccer. That's what I do.
Do it. Well, how are you going to do it, Mike?
Okay, first and foremost, number one, admit there's a problem.
Yes. What's
the reason
problem?
why I think about this is because Hope Solo, who is the great goaltender for the U.S. women, was being interviewed by someone. I forget.
She's beautiful.
Yes, very, very well. Except the fact that they in part of the frappening, they were nude photos of her, and pretty good looking, but there were certain aspects of her like, oh, okay. But
what does that even mean?
Her genitals were not as attractive as maybe you hope, and it was really close up.
I don't. Oh, okay. Are anyone's genitals attractive close up?
Let's just say hers were extra, not. Whatever. But
well,
we'll move
other
on.
than that, she is
very attractive woman.
Beautiful.
Yes, and perfect for me. She's like 6 foot.
Oh.
Yeah, but anyway, so someone was talking to her about why U.S. men's soccer sucked, and she said what I've been saying for years, but now she said it. She goes, it's too expensive to play soccer at the elite level, so the only kids that are playing soccer right now are rich white kids.
Oh.
So guess what? That's one of the problems. You know what? But everyone attacked her. They went, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, she's totally right.
Was she a rich white
No, she was
kid?
actually very lower middle class, and that was one of the points. She said, I would not probably be able to afford playing soccer right now.
Yeah.
Because what happens is if you show any, talent, then you're supposed to be on these 9,000 traveling teams, and these traveling teams go all over the place and everything. And that's why when people sat there and attacked her, like, what are you talking about? Soccer's the cheapest sport. No, as soon as you show any talent, then they're like, oh, you live in California? Well, we're going to Washington, D.C. for this national tournament. Guess what? That cost you a G, find a G. And so some doctor's kid gets it. And by the way, the doctor's kid probably stinks on ice, and so he can't play any other sports, so he plays soccer.
I mean, I guess it's cheapest when it comes to, equipment.
Yeah.
You know, that's not going to be as expensive as, hockey and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But that's the thing. We have to admit there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Second thing is admit that unless changes are made, nothing's going to change. We have to sit there. Because my biggest problem has always been, it goes back to my younger brother's father-in-law is a very prominent soccer coach in the Pittsburgh area.
Okay.
And so I met him at a party once, and I've met him several times, but at a party once, and we just started talking, and I sat there and I just point blank said, when the World Cup first came to America in 1994, they sat there and said, yeah, in 20 years, we're going to be a World Cup contender and we're going to be dominating, and it didn't happen. What the hell's going on? I said it more politely than that.
Yeah.
And he sat there and he goes, Mike, I'll be honest with you, I've been fighting this battle for 30 years. Here's what it comes down to. Everywhere else in the world, it's their street sport. And in our country, it's the rich kid sport. And that's one of the reasons why if you want your kid to be good at anything, it's kind of counterproductive to overcoach your kid. You have to kind of just let your kid just play. Go to the park with a bunch of kids and just play the sport.
Right.
Now, but the parents don't do that because parents need to fill their empty lives. That's one of the things that ask yourself if your kid plays like 900 different sports. Is the kid playing 900 different sports because he or she wants to, or because you need to fill your empty life?
Right.
Because, like, I'll be honest. Okay, I was a scholarship football player. I didn't play organized football until 7th grade.
Yeah.
And my dad didn't take me anywhere or whatever like that, and I got it. I've coached 3 guys that eventually went to the National Football League. One did play youth. The other 2, one of them didn't play football until 8th grade, and the other one didn't play until 7th grade, and they made it to the NFL, which proves at the end of the day, if your kid, because I'm always talking to these parents, and they always sit there and they go, oh, we have to get, because it's so competitive for scholarships and all this stuff. Here's the deal. If you look at like the recent Major League Baseball draft, 90% of the pitchers were 6'7". I don't care how good your kid is at the youth level. If he eventually only grows up to be 5'8", there's a good chance that no Major League Baseball team's going to draft him.
Yeah.
Okay? It's talent. There's a kid in the Dominican who's hitting rocks with a stick, who's eventually going to hit 40 home runs in Major League Baseball, and will not be coached officially by an actual coach until he's probably like 13. Okay? And he will crush it because he's actually learning how to play the sport.
And he's passionate about it.
And he's passionate about it. And he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas you're driving the passion out of your kid. When it comes down to, parents are terrible at what they do. Also, here's another idea I have. Find the best of the rest. And what I mean by that is there's so many players that could be really good soccer players, but they're on the borderline to being NFL defensive backs or center fielders or point guards or anything like that. Find them when they're kind of, they were the first cut of the Steelers. Go up to them and go, okay, we're going to give you a $100,000 contract to be in a U.S. soccer developmental program.
Yeah. You
get a bunch of those people and you put them in an academy and you teach them soccer. Guess what? You find a 6-foot, fast guy who's got an athleticism, and now you teach him soccer.
Right.
Now people say, Mike, didn't you just counteract yourself? You just sat there and said that it has to be a street sport from you're a kid, and you're going to take a kid who's 21, 22 years old. What I'm saying is, then you find the next Antonio Gates or Alejandro Villanueva. Antonio Gates is a Hall of Fame tight end, didn't play football officially until the NFL. The reason why he's a Hall of Fame tight end is because he was a basketball player in college. He was great at it. He wasn't good enough to play in the NBA. Somebody gave him an opportunity to play in the NFL. Guess what? Now he's going to be an NFL Hall of Famer. Boom. Now, I'm not saying that all of them will make it, but if you find, let's say, 2 a year, guess what? 2 a year over 4 years, that's 8. There's 11 players in a team. You find like 8 good athletes, 2 of them eventually become World Cup. Absolutely, that's worth it.
Yeah.
Also, stop treating soccer as this quote-unquote safe pastime. Every parent treats soccer as, oh, we like to play it because it's safe. It's not football. It's not hockey. It's just no. Every other country treats this like war.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't drill into your kid's head, the reason why you're playing this is because we don't want you to get hurt.
It's not safe.
It's not safe. It has to be a deadly sport to the vicious end.
To the death.
Also, we have to really be mad that we suck at this.
Oh.
As a country, we have to really be upset with this. That like back in the day,
Doesn't seem like anyone's upset about it.
Exactly. I'm the only one upset with it. I'm the only one that's pissed on watching the World Cup. Like, why do we suck at this?
Because I didn't even know that we weren't in it because I don't care.
I know.
But, I've seen loads and loads and loads of people watching all of the games.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like it matters to them that we're not in it. They're
Well,
still
a lot of
super
them, the people
excited
that are
about it.
Well, I think here's number one. They picked a perfect time to do it because NBA finals are done.
Right,
Hockey's
there's nothing
done.
happening.
There's nothing really. It's the same reason why the Summer Olympics happens around now. If this would happen in, let's say, November, no one, a lot less people would care. And the other part, and this comes back to your whole point. Women need to remind dudes that guess what? You really find every woman I talk to says soccer players are insanely hot.
Because they are.
So, but that's okay. Talk to the children of the world and make sure you tell them that the girls are going to really dig them as soccer players.
To the children?
Well, like when
to
they're
the
12
small
years
children?
old.
Hey, little boys.
Yes.
Soccer makes you hot.
Yeah.
You got that good soccer bod. Girls like that.
Yes.
Girls like soccer bods.
Yes.
You're not too big. You're not too little. Just the right amount of
You're
delicious.
You're the porridge that Alex likes. It's the porridge that Goldilocks likes?
Yeah, I got it.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was at the bar the other day, and I was drinking a Bloody Mary, and I looked back, and I was like, there's soccer on. And I was like, oh, look at those tasty little dudes.
We need more of that. You need to go up to kids when they're 8 years old, and they're like, I maybe want to play football. You're like, if you want to be getting the girls, if you're a rich soccer player, then that could work out.
See, I used to hate soccer more than anything else because I couldn't play it.
Why?
I'm not coordinated at anything, and especially not soccer, I guess.
How often did you play it?
Well, like in gym, when we would play it, like I would dread every single day that we had to play soccer in gym.
What was the things that you dreaded the most when you were in gym class?
Soccer.
That really?
Any kind of team activity.
Really?
Because I was terrible at it all. I was just
I
awkward.
I always hated running the mile.
Oh, I was fine with that because I didn't have to be with anyone else, and I didn't have to, like, I was not the outcome of everyone else's day. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't gonna screw anything up for anyone else if I was running the mile. I can do that, and I was good at running, ish. But yeah, I hated soccer for that reason. And then I dated a kid in high school who forced me to go to every single one of his soccer games. And then because of that, I had to learn to like soccer. I was just going to hate every moment of my life. And then I did. And then when I was there, I was like, there's some good looking dudes here.
There you go.
This paid off.
So that's what we need. We need more women to come out and say, hey, little boys, if you want the girls, could help with soccer, and then we could win the World Cup, because I would find by the time I'm dead, I want the U.S. to win a World Cup because it would really piss off the rest of the world. That's all I'm about.
All right.
It would incense the rest of the world that we took a sport that they love and we're just kind of meh about, and we could be the best at it.
Let's do it.
I
think that people would be rioting in the street.
There you go. Riots in the street is what we need. Also,
more of them, yeah.
Yeah. Also, what we need is this segment called Fresh Eyes. So play the song, Alex.
I will, Mike.
Okay.
There's no love like a country girl with money.
Okay, this week on Fresh Eyes. By the way, if you don't know what Fresh Eyes is I ask Alex, who is a little bit younger than me, to watch a video from a previous generation and give her fresh take on this. This week, we have the great Billy Joel. So we're showing the picture of Billy Joel. Billy Joel, who has been active really since the mid-'60s, but really started to come into his own when he became a solo act in the early '70s. A couple of his stats: 150 million album sales worldwide.
That's it.
That's it. 150 million. 33 top 40 hits, and he wrote them all.
Yeah.
So he didn't have anybody else helping him. 6th biggest selling artist in U.S. recording artist history. 3rd biggest solo artist. So you think like Michael Jackson, Madonna, then probably Billy Joel.
Damn.
And one of the most underrated babe hounds of all time. I will
babe
get to
hounds.
that.
I really like that term, by the way.
Thank you. We'll get to that. So first video that we'll talk about is his signature song, which is Piano Man. Now, by the way, this is not a video for when Piano Man was released. Piano Man was actually released in the early 70s. It was his first album when he left he actually signed with these people And they were kind of shady. And he produced one album, and it didn't really go anywhere. And then this other guy from like Columbia Records found him and said, "Hey, we're from Columbia Records. We want to sign you." He's like, "Well, I got Scumbag McGee as my agent."
Scumbag McGee.
So he goes, "Well, here's what you got to do. You got to just go somewhere, and I'll deal with it. It's going to take a while for me to buy off this loser. Go do something." So he moved to L.A., and he worked at a piano bar. And when he worked at this piano bar, he's not that great. He's making decent dough, but he thought that maybe I'm never going to be able to be a recording artist. I'm never going to get out of this contract. I'm a big giant loser. So he wrote this song, Piano Man, with his experience working in this piano bar in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you've heard this song before.
Obviously.
This song is the quintessential 2 a.m. drunk sing-along song. Mm-hmm. Now, had you ever seen this video?
I haven't.
Okay. What'd you think?
I really liked it. It was almost like I used to be able to play Piano Man on piano.
Really? The whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Well, I mean, not the like really fancy parts, like the beginning part of it.
Okay.
I couldn't play that part, but the rest of it I could.
Okay.
But it was almost like reading a book and then watching the movie to go along with it, because you're like, when you're hearing this song, you're picturing all of the people that he's talking about, and then in the music video, like they show those people, and you're like, oh, like that makes sense. Like I get it, and I thought that was really cool and exciting.
Now, are you a fan, or were you a fan in any way? A fan of Billy Joel?
Yeah, I love Billy Joel.
Really? You love Billy Joel?
Yeah, my brother, only because of my brother, he gave me a Billy Joel CD, like all of his like best hits. I don't remember how old I was, probably like in middle school or so. He gave me the CD before I went on vacation, and for 2 weeks straight, I only listened to that Billy Joel CD and then memorized all of the songs, and these 3 songs were on there.
Billy Joel is one of the weirdest artists in the history of recorded music, in a sense that he's insanely popular, but so many people are embarrassed to admit they like him.
No, I'm not embarrassed at all.
Like, I'll be honest, I'll dig his music, but like anytime you mention Billy Joel to anybody, you get certain people that go, "Oh my God." Like, there's this one quote from this famed music critic in the Village Voice who said, "Billy Joel is a force of nature and bad taste." And there's so many people that have written like giant essays about how horrible Billy Joel is.
Honestly, I feel like if you're gonna say that you don't like Piano Man, it's like what we talked about last week with the Beatles. Like if you say that, you're not being honest. You're just saying that because everyone else loves Piano Man.
Yeah, Piano Man is like one of those quintessential American kind of folksy song that just describes a situation so perfectly. Very similar to like Bruce Springsteen and like Born to Run or something like that. Like he's telling a story, and absolutely it visualizes it. That's one of the reasons why, in my opinion, I actually don't like the song. I mean, I love the song. I don't really like the video because I had my own image of what everyone looked like.
Yeah.
Like the guy who says like who thought he was a movie star.
Yeah.
I assumed that he would be like a decent looking dude.
I loved that.
You liked that he was like in the video a giant fat guy that in no way would ever be a movie star?
Yeah. He could be. There's fat movie stars.
Name 3.
They exist.
Name 3.
I don't know who they are.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
They exist.
There's fat people that appear in movies.
Yeah.
But say fat movie star, like a movie star that is overweight that like leads a movie. Like, oh my God, this is his movie.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, again,
but you never know. He could also lose weight and then become the star of a movie.
Yeah. I think at that point, if you haven't lost at that point, that's one of my goals, is just to be like the obese, Tom Cruise or whatever. That'd be it. It'd be like, for all of the chubby men in the world, they're like, there's the guy. He's in the Predator remake, but he's like got love handles. Boom, win, victory. All right, now, second song. And this is where like this story really kind of struck me as like, oh my God, I had no idea this guy was this level of babe magnet.
Babe hound.
So, Uptown Girl.
Yeah.
I always thought that this song was written about Christy Brinkley.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
So here's the real story behind it, and it's so cool. So Billy Joel gets divorced from his wife in 1982. He's a big-time superstar. He goes to like this island in the middle of the Caribbean. and he meets 3 women. Christy Brinkley,
Okay.
Whitney Houston, and Elle Macpherson.
Okay.
So, if you don't know who Christy Brinkley is, Christy Brinkley in the early 80s was like the quintessential hottest woman on the planet.
That makes sense.
She was in National Lampoon's Vacation. She was on the cover of like every Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, all that kind of good stuff. Now, Whitney Houston at the time was 16 years old, and she was down there, and she wasn't trying to get romantically with Billy Joel. She just knew that he was on the island, and she was more of like a, like her mom was like Aretha Franklin's like singer, and Aretha Franklin was like her godmother, and wanted to get discovered, and so she was trying to stalk Billy Joel to get like in front of him to say, hey, I could sing and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then Elle Macpherson was, at the time, Christy Brinkley was like 27, 28. Elle Macpherson was 19. And so she was kind of like the up-and-coming super hot chick of the world. And so like there was kind of like a rivalry between the two. And so maybe there wasn't, but I'm creating it for this story.
Okay.
So, and actually at one point, at one night, they tell the story that Billy Joel is at the piano. Elle Macpherson walks in and starts like jumping on the piano and like being like all fabulous Baker Boys on it and stuff like that, and being all seductive.
Oh.
And then like Christy Brinkley like sits next to him and starts like singing songs on the like next to him and stuff like that.
Wait. How old is Billy Joel at this time?
33, 34.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's like in his mid-30s.
Just want to make sure it wasn't like super creepy.
No. Well, so that happens, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So then he writes the song Uptown Girls. Now, initially, it turns out that everyone's thought that he wrote the song about Christy Brinkley. It turns out he was writing the song before he even met her, and really it was initially called Uptown Girls, and it was about all the girls that he was meeting who were like in their like early 20s, who were models, who were living together in like really nice townhouses in like the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
And he would always like, let me go, look at these Uptown Girls.
Yeah.
And so this is the move that kind of made me just like, oh my God, I can't imagine this. So eventually he befriends all 3 of them and starts to work on Christy Brinkley a little. Again, Christy Brinkley, hottest chick you could possibly fathom. Goes on a date with her, convinces her to come back to his place. Now, his place is like one of those quintessential New York penthouses that overlooks Central Park. It's the closer. You take this woman up here with this view. She's, it's panty peeler. She's doing something. But this is Christy Brinkley. She's kind of just like, I'm Christy Brinkley, whatever. Gets to the place, opens up the door. Who is in his penthouse already? Elle Macpherson.
Oh, damn.
19-year-old supermodel.
No.
So this reveals at my point of, like, I remember this was one of the great mysteries of my life. How did Billy Joel get Christy Brinkley? He got her inadvertently by making it that she was like, hey, yeah, sorry, I'm with Elle Macpherson. And that night, Elle Macpherson stayed and Christy Brinkley had to leave. So as a woman...
What was he going for there, though?
What do you mean?
I mean, why did he bring her there with
He wanted
her
to bang her,
there?
and didn't know that Elle Macpherson was already there.
Oh, okay. You left that out.
Well, that's why I said just
it
walk...
sounded like he was just trying to have a threesome there.
No, well, that... He might have, but...
I mean, obviously that would have been ideal.
Yeah, that would have been ideal. But, okay, you're a woman.
I
You walk
am a
in,
woman.
you're with Billy Joel.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, you're Christy Brinkley. You're like, oh, this guy's kind of a schlubby guy. I can get any
He is
person.
a schlubby guy.
Okay, you walk in and you're 28, and all of a sudden you see the 19-year-old up-and-coming super hot chick.
Yeah.
What's that do to your head? You sit there and be like, damn, I thought I was kind of like I could play slow on this guy because I'm totally out of this guy's league. All of a sudden you're sitting there going, you mean to tell me I got to compete with the 19-year-old version of me?
Nope. I would say we're having a threesome.
That's
Look at this 19-year-old. We're having a threesome.
Yeah. But the thing is, so it wasn't Billy Joel that then went after Elle Macpherson and Christy Brinkley. It was them two fighting over him.
And he is such a schlub-looking man. That's why I was like, I was watching this video and I'm like, he's one kind of small, at least compared, to other people.
Well, Christy Brinkley's like 5'10", and he's clearly not 5'10".
Right, and also just like just like your average Joe Schmo looking bro, you know?
Well, like that, I remember one thing, they interviewed him with Christy Brinkley when they were going to Russia.
Yeah.
Because that was a big deal. This was like before like they opened the Iron Curtain, and he was one of the first, if not the first, American rock and roll singers to do a tour of Russia. And he obviously brought his wife Christy Brinkley, and Christy Brinkley's pet nickname for him was Joe. Like, oh, because you're an average Joe. Hey, Joe, which is kind of a dig, but whatever. But the thing that gets me is like, that's the move. That's how you get Christy Brinkley. You don't go after her. You show her like, hey, I'm Billy Joel. I can
do whatever I want.
I can do whatever. I wrote Piano Man. So okay. But the video Uptown Girl. What did you think of the video Uptown Girl?
This is the most ridiculous video, but honestly, the only thing that I feel like works for it, like the cheesiest, almost musical looking, like Grease, thing, and I loved it. But he's so awkward, and I mean, it's definitely fits the music video because everything's cheesy and awkward, but it is just really awkward. And my favorite parts of it were, one, the driver of the car that the hot girl is in.
That's Christy Brinkley, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, he's just looking at everyone like, what is this? And then he gets out of the car and he's like, all right, can we hurry this up? Like, let's get back in the car. And then at the end, she just drives away on the motorcycle with Billy Joel. And I just really wanted them to pan back down to the driver and him just be like, what the fuck?
I got to answer for where this girl's going.
I came all the way here? Yeah. And then also my other favorite part was the two black kids that came out in crop tops and had nothing to do with the whole entire scene, but just
did breakdancing moves.
Yeah. And it was amazing.
Because that is clearly a music producer saying, now here's the thing, Billy. We've got to talk to the kids here, and so there's breakdancing, and so we have to move that in. And again, Billy Joel is not exactly made for MTV. So again, this is 83, 84. It's a new thing. He's more of a 70s artist. He's sitting there going, well, let's figure something out. We'll make a mini movie. It's kind of fun. I've got the hottest chick in the world, which, by the way, Christy Brinkley in that video looks outstanding.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they just could have, I don't know. I guess her outfit was appropriate. I don't know.
But they weren't going to put her in lingerie. It wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, just something a little bit more sexual. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you always get me for oh, this is sexual, and then this is a little nice little video.
It's not as sexual as it needs
to be.
Yeah,
you're like, more sex.
Yeah.
But one of the fun thing is that in the video, they told the story that Billy Joel eventually, in part of his wooing of Christy Brinkley, it was the mutual kind of thing, he says, oh, I want you to be in one of my videos. And the first thing she said is, I can't dance. And this proves she practically can't move.
I bet he was
she had trouble walking.
Yeah, I'm sure he was like, I can't either, so it's cool. It's cool. We'll both look ridiculous.
Yeah, those two having sex must have been really awkward.
Yeah.
Neither one of them can move. Anyway, so then the third one was We Didn't Start the Fire.
Right.
This was his last super big hit. This was in the late 80s, early 90s. And the story behind it, and I read about it today, which I thought was pretty cool. Again, Billy Joel hangs around everybody cool. He was hanging around with Sean Lennon, John Lennon's kid. Mm-hmm. And he's 14 years old, and hopefully he was supervised. He wasn't just him and the 14-year-old kid having lunch. But he sat there, and Sean Lennon goes up to Billy Joel and says, oh, it's so tough now because there's so much going on in the world. You got to grow up in the 50s when nothing was going on. And he sat there and went, what are you talking about? Little Rock and, all these, the communism and Vietnam and JFK and all this kind of stuff. That was tons of stuff going on. And he got this idea of you know what? Kids might not know that they feel bad, oh my God, wars and death and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? This has been going on forever. And so he wrote this song, and the story was at the time, he wanted at one time to be a history teacher, but then he dropped out of school and stuff like that. But he wrote this song kind of saying to the rest of the world, and mostly to quote unquote kids, hey, don't worry, all of this stuff has been going on forever, and it's going to keep going on. You just kind of have to deal with it.
Right.
Now, Mike, again, I'm kind of like Billy Joel. At one point, I wanted to be history, but then I figured out it was hard. I've always been interested in history, and when I was in 7th grade, when this video and this song was very popular, one of the things that I did, which was very dorky of me, I researched every single thing that he mentioned in this video. and knew what it was.
Okay.
And like I did it for like a class project and stuff like that. So like I wrote down every like Marilyn Monroe, like movie star, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
JFK, blah, blah, all this kind of stuff. And it actually introduced me to a lot of concepts of modern American history that I thought were very, very interesting. Now, what did you think of the video?
The whole time I think I was just watching it and thinking about like if this video was made now, like how completely epic it could be. And like I guess I like the concept that they did of it, just kind of like going through the generations and like in people's like kitchens and stuff like that, and showing how they're affected by all these things that are happening in the world, and then him randomly at a table like tapping on the table with flames behind it. That was stupid.
But that goes back to he can't dance, he can't do anything, so it has to be one thing where like, okay, what do you do with the guy?
Yeah, he just sits there and taps on the table.
Yeah, he's just got to be a cool guy, just kind of in the background, just doing whatever.
Yeah, I just, like I said, like if this video is made now, like it could be so cool.
Like, what do you mean? Why?
I mean the different effects that they could do in the video, and like just better footage of things, and I don't know. I think they could do it better. I think if someone like reimagined it, and I feel like obviously it's still appropriate now. The song's never going to be.
I mean, there's
not
always been
relevant.
talked about. They've always been like, "Hey, would you ever update the song?
Yeah.
Would you ever start at the point where you left off and then just change the lyrics?"
Yeah.
But I think he's almost just like, "I'm rich. I don't need this."
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, but I feel like it could be a really cool thing because it's still relevant. It's still saying the same thing that it did at that time, and I feel like it would be really cool if someone like reimagined the video and redid one.
So overall, the way it sounds is of the things of this era, this has been your favorite of the things that I've made you
I do
watch.
really love Billy Joel.
But let me ask you this question. You've said, I've had so many women tell me, even though they admit that he's not the most attractive dude in the world, that they would totally do him.
Sure.
Your opinion?
Sure is in yes.
Yes, you admit he's not the best looking guy in the world.
But not now.
Yeah.
Not now,
But
him.
by the way, he married someone when he was like in his 50s who was like younger than you.
Of course. But no, definitely not now, Billy Joel. He kind of reminds me of the man, oh my God.
He looks like Paul Giamatti at this point.
I can't think of who that is.
Okay. But he does.
Anyways.
But you're saying Uptown Girl Billy Joel?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And like, I'm definitely shorter than him, so I think it's okay. You know?
Is that important?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be as much of a like, he looks more like a schlub because he's shorter than me, you know?
Yeah. You're saying with a dude, if the guy's going out with like a 5'10" supermodel and he's 5'6", he kind of just looks weird.
Yeah, especially if he already looks weird.
But you're saying he's not an attractive man, but you would totally do him. And
I mean, he's not
But if he was just like
unattractive.
Billy, the guy who works at Kogo's, you'd be like, no way.
No, yeah.
It's the fact that he's a millionaire rock star.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kids, again, remember, play soccer, be a millionaire rock star.
Exactly.
And then you get the girls. Speaking of that, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, news and notes from the world of sports, gossip, and weirdness. A pitcher had a little bit of an accident in Major League Baseball, and it's right down Alex's alley. Guess what? It's the Mike Sasson Show. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Mike Sasson Show on www.riversedgepgh.com. Again, happy 4th of July. Also, as a reminder, we're coming up on our 2nd anniversary, Alex.
Oh, Sam.
Yeah. You seem
Jesus Christ.
You seem really excited. Anyway, so we'll be
It's been so long.
we'll be celebrating that in the month of July. Also, you might be listening to us on TuneIn Radio, on the TuneIn Radio app. Remember, if you want to listen to the River's Edge on the TuneIn Radio app, just say, hey, I want to listen to River's Edge PGH or River's Edge Pittsburgh on your smart speaker on TuneIn Radio. And you can do that, and then everything is happy in your world. Again, thank you everyone who listens and watches and supports the show and supports the River's Edge and supports local artists and music and supports news and notes from the world of gossip, entertainment, and all that kind of good stuff. Play the theme.
It all starts now.
Alex is a huge fan of feces, and I thought this story went right down Alex's alley. So there's a relief pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks. His name is Archie Bradley.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, what are you laughing about?
He's a relief pitcher?
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
Well, finish telling the story.
Okay. So essentially, he was in the bullpen. He was facing off against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay.
He's excited because he's going to get in the game. He's going to be a major league pitcher. It's going to be awesome. He's done this for years, but every time he comes out there, it's exciting. And he's a competitor. And because of that, he has to pee. So they have like a little bathroom next to the bullpen. So he runs out into the bathroom, and he's like, uh-oh, I might have to go in with like a pitch or two, but he's got to pee. So he runs in there and he has to pee. And this is an accident that sometimes happens when you're trying to pee too quick. What happens? You poo a little. And so then he sits there and goes, uh-oh, I just pooed my pants. And now all of a sudden he's sitting there going, I'm peeing, I got pooed my pants, and they're pitching, and then his pitching coach sits there and goes, you're in, Archie. And he's like, uh-oh, I got to clean up the crap. And they're like, nope, you got to run out there and you got to go pitch. And so he's like, uh-oh. So he had to pull up his pants, and he had to pitch in a Major League Baseball game with a load of poop in his pants.
Could you see it?
Apparently not, because I think that's one of the things. He told the story.
Oh.
He told the story.
It.
He told it. He said,
What a cool dude.
Yeah. But I would sit
Good for
there and
him.
say, and also he pitched a perfect inning.
Oh,
So
well.
he pitched a clean inning with poop in his pants.
Oh, that's
Which
good.
Now let me ask you this question. Related story.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll get to a question. I want
Okay.
you to think of a time in which you accidentally did poo yourself.
I did.
Okay. So another story that came out was Tony Saragusa played defensive tackle for Pitt and for the Baltimore Ravens and the Indianapolis Colts. He's
Okay.
playing for the Baltimore Ravens. And so he has to take a crap. And he's figuring, okay, it's almost to the end of halftime. I have to, kind of do whatever. So he's playing defensive line for the Baltimore Ravens. He runs into the offensive tackle and he smashes into him, and boom, poos his pants. And he's wearing white pants.
Right.
So he sits there and goes, oh, snap, I don't want to, in front of 80,000 people in national TV have brown pants on, whatever. So he drops down to the ground and pretends like he just hurt his neck.
Oh, damn.
So he sits there and he's like, can't move because he doesn't want to roll over and everybody sees the poo in his pants. So he sits there and the doctor comes out and goes, what's wrong? What's wrong? He goes, I just took a crap in my pants. Just pretend like I hurt my back and just put me on the board and just take me out. And he's like, what? He's like, I'm not going to roll over. I got brown. And he looks in the pants, goes, oh, yeah, it's all brown. It's white pants. Everyone sees it. And so the doctors have to, pretend like his neck, they have to, brace it and take his face mask off and all this other kind of stuff. And he's sitting there going, oh, this is so embarrassing. I just crapped my pants, all this kind of stuff. And then the thing is that he comes out for halftime because they just give him new pants. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, what a miracle!" They thought he had a severe neck injury, and he's all the way. And he turns out it was just because he crapped his pants. So, Alex,
That's amazing.
Do you have a crap your pants story in which you had to do something later?
I do.
Okay.
I once shit my pants while I was at work.
Okay.
I was working at Men's Warehouse at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this was I don't know, doesn't matter. I was drinking the night before. And so I was extremely hungover that day at work. And I was taking a quick little break at work because I felt like shit. So I went outside and I was squatting down because there's not seats outside. There's just a sidewalk. And I was just taking a little break there on my phone. And I was getting up and I went to fart and then shit my pants a little bit. But I was wearing a dress. So it was just all down the back half of my dress. And so I was like, oh shit, I don't really know what to do in this situation. So I went to the bathroom and cleaned my dress off. I didn't obviously have a change of clothes, and I work at Men's Warehouse. It's not like I can wear a suit, you know? So I cleaned off the back of my dress as much as I possibly could and sprayed myself with the most amount of perfume that has ever been sprayed on anyone. I put lotion on my dress and everything like that, and then I went back to work. And no one ever said anything.
That's one of the I've never actually crapped myself, but I've done farts where it was in an inappropriate time to fart, and then all of a sudden someone walks in, and now we have to have a conversation in the fart, and you're hoping that they kind of just like don't realize that you farted. But I'd say about 50% of the time they just go, "Oh God, who farted?" And you're like, "Oh my God, you're right. What happened here?" And then that's the best time when I can act.
Yeah, that's probably literally what everyone did around me for the rest of the day. Yeah. It was terrible.
I'm sorry to hear.
And like I had already taken my break, so I couldn't just leave to go get. I worked in a mall, but I couldn't just leave to go get new clothes.
See, I think in that situation, if you went up to the boss, that's when you have to go up to your boss.
If I went up to my boss and was like, "Hey," but I remember that specific day. So I had a female boss. She was like the head. She was not there that day, and I worked with all guys other than her.
Okay.
And I was not going to go tell my guy boss like, "Hey, you just shit my pants." They would have just ridiculed me forever.
But all you have to do, and this is the key, you just sit there and be like, "I'm sorry, I need to take a couple minutes. I might have to go home. I have a family situation."
Or I say, if it was all dudes, I could have said, "Hey, I'm having some female issues," if you know what I mean.
No, you don't have to even do the you know what I mean. You just sit there and say,
just
like,
wink at them. I'm having some female issues.
Yeah, you just sit. Yeah, all you have then no one says anything to you. I'm always the big on family. I have a family issue.
Right. Yeah, that works for men. Family or female issues pretty much always works for women.
If you have a male issue, then they're just sitting there going, "What are you just being a jerk?"
Yeah, it's just gross. I don't even know what it is.
I don't even know either. Then maybe people then would really ask you questions.
What's happening with your drunk?
Yeah, that's the key. You just have to ask questions. You have to say something so vague, and then if you sit there and someone goes, "Well, what's happening?" You'd be like, "I'll be honest with you, I'm not comfortable in saying." And then they're thinking like, "Oh God, someone has like cancer or something." When it turns out you just shit your pants.
Yeah.
This is, I believe, the definition of clickbait. There was this article that it said, "Women admit the 2 words they love to hear in bed."
I've been dying to know what it is.
Okay, so I wanted to show you the entire thing, because this is what it was on Twitter. So you see the 2 hot people, and they're in passions of love and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And it says right
very
there,
fake passions.
Yeah, the 2 words that women love to hear. So I'm sitting there going, okay, I'd like to know.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, what are the 2 things? So this is where it's kind of BS, and I'm not trying to whatever. According to this was off a Reddit post. And it was a woman said this is what she likes to hear in bed, and then 5,000 women all liked it. So they're all sitting there going, that's agreement.
Okay.
Okay. So they said the 2 words that women love to hear in bed are good girl.
5,000 women agreed with this.
They said, yes, I love to say it when my man is in the throes of passion. He sits there and says, good girl.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's also not saying these are the only 2 words that they love to hear during sex. Just 2 words that they love to hear during sex. And
really,
they're not top words. You know, just
really, it comes down to encouraging words.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there saying, hey, you're doing a hell of a job.
I think doing a hell of a job, and then it's also I don't know, putting them down a little lower as well at the same exact time.
What do you mean?
Because you're calling them girl.
Okay.
You know?
Well, all right. See, that comes up to you always talk. This is something that I read, and it's a big kind of I guess controversy, because you've heard of pickup artists, people that there's Mystical or whatever his name is, and he talks about how to pick up women, and he's all that kind of stuff. Oh,
and that one hot guy with the accent.
Mm-hmm. And they always talk about negging, which is you go up to someone and you sit there and be like, oh, those are beautiful glasses you're wearing. You're very confident to wear those, even though I don't think they fit your face.
Right, a good thing with a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think that's. Would you say calling someone, you saying "good girl" in bed, is saying, "Hey, you're doing well, but I believe that you're."
It's almost it's demeaning, but also complimenting at the same time. Yeah. I mean,
but then in the throes of passion, you say, "Hey, you're doing a hell of a job. You are
hell of a job.
You're a powerful female, and you're doing wonderful at this whole sex thing."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that would do as much.
Yeah, but it's just 2 words. If you just say it, just good girl. That's nice.
And then give them a high five.
Yeah, pound it, boom. Would you ever say good boy? Then you're
No.
talking like,
Ew,
he's
no,
a dog.
That's weird, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a dog.
Yeah.
You have to
I
say-
don't think anyone would love hearing that.
Yeah, you just have to sit there and look at the guy and just be like, hey, keep going.
Woo woo.
Yeah.
Just cheering him on over here.
Dun, 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 dun. Hey. Dun.
Yeah.
just start.
I mean, that's what I do all the time.
Yeah. You just start singing 70s like crowd theme songs and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You, dun, 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 charge.
Yeah. I just give him a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Doing great. Keep it up.
Keep it up. Literally.
Oh,
No. Referring to his dick. Also, this got me a little bit peeved. Apparently, 5-star hotels have to now have someone completely on staff just to deal with all of the quote-unquote internet influencers that try to get free stuff.
Oh, damn.
So what happens is anybody that feels they have a ton of like internet like pull tries to like email all of these type of like 5-star places and say to them, hey, if you let me and pay for my, everything, I'll take tons of pictures of your place. And then ultimately it'll be great because everyone will say that you're awesome. So what they did was this one place in Dublin, this woman, the woman that I'm showing, the blonde, she's an internet influencer. So she emailed and said, hey, I'm coming to Dublin. I see that your 5-star hotel is amazing. I would like to do a deal with you to where I would twice a day take a picture and tell everybody I'm at your place, and all you have to do is pay for my room, my food, everything like that, and my plane and all that kind of stuff there. And so this is what he wrote back. Thank you for your email looking for free accommodation in return for exposure. It takes a lot of balls to send an email like that, if not much self-respect and dignity. If I let you stay here in return for a feature and a video, who's going to pay the staff who look after you? Who's going to pay the housekeepers who clean your room? The waiters who serve you breakfast? The receptionist who check you in? Who's going to pay for the lights and the heat during your stay? P.S. The answer is no.
Wow.
And then she wrote, then she did a 17-minute YouTube video.
Oh, my God.
And all she basically said is, I don't feel like I did anything wrong. So, Alex, did she do anything wrong?
I don't know. I feel like this is a situational thing. Because, in certain circumstances, influencers are very good for business. Like my sister's business, for instance, that she's, trying to get off the ground. Influencers really help her because most of her business is social media based. So what she does is she'll send them, a free shirt. Mm-hmm. And they take multiple photos in that shirt, and then she has models, real people models to model her stuff, and then those people's followers follow her.
But let me ask you, if somebody contacted your sister and said, hey, by the way, if you send me 5 outfits, I'll wear them on 5 consecutive days, and I'll say that I'm wearing this. Would your sister sit there and be like, I suppose she'd just have to negotiate and say, okay, I'll send you 1 outfit a month, and if you do, and then it becomes just like a business transaction.
Right. Well, most businesses, now, she has basically certain guidelines for her influencers. So she has all of that information available. So when someone's like, hey, I want to be an influencer, she sends back a whole little information packet okay, this is what you what you will get. This is what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people who, this girl's obviously asking too much because, yeah, like that person said, how are we going to do anything that
really
we need
what
to
comes
do?
down to with this woman is you do not have enough followers and you don't generate enough business for me to justify you staying here for a week.
And but I can see maybe discounting her rate, discounting her rate for her room. Okay, cool. That's not that big of a deal. I feel like to hotels, you're not taking that much of a hit. If you give someone you gave them employee pricing on your room. Mm-hmm. But to have a full stay, full food and stuff like that, that's a little much. Are you really giving them that much business? Unless you can prove I have this many followers and you are guaranteed this much business from it, mm-hmm. Then no. I don't think it's that. I think she's asking too much.
I hear you. Well, I just thought, it's an interesting kind of 21st century dilemma of okay, again, her job is being an influencer, and she essentially gets all this crap because of it. And so that's kind of what happens. Speaking of things that happen, anytime you just read the term Florida man, many Florida men pretty much keep morning shows in business.
That is so true.
This was a uniquely Florida story. So a guy gets out of jail, takes a taxi home, gets to the house where he's going to, which is like 70 minutes away, so it costs like $100. Walks into the house and goes up to his mom and his sister and goes, "Hey, I'm out of jail." And they're like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, "Yeah, I had to take a taxi because, you guys didn't pick me up because, you're scumbags. It cost me $100. I need $100. And they're like, "We don't have $100. We're Florida trash. We don't have any money." And so he's like, "Well, dude, I have this taxi out and whatever." So he goes up to the taxi and he's just like, "Yeah, I don't have any money. Sorry. See ya." And he's like, no. That's robbery. Calls the cops. The cops take him back to jail.
Oh.
That is, he literally gone the taxi to jail, gets him back in jail.
That sucks.
I think it really comes down to the fact of just lack of planning.
Yeah.
You really have to you definitely, especially going after jail. I always thought that they always gave you like a plane, like a ticket or something, like a bus.
No, I run into people like that all the time.
No, but are those legitimately people from jail? I always thought they were just scheming.
I don't know. If they aren't legitimately people from jail, they have very good background stories.
Well, like, for instance, one time I was in Bloomfield with a bunch of comics in front of a bar, and a guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, I need a bus ticket. I need to go to this place," and he was willing to sell me his watch.
Oh, my God, yeah.
But that
happened to me before.
But I was in Bloomfield, so I'm like, your story doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because the jail is, I can understand if, let's say, you're at Point Park, which is right down the street from the jail, which, by the way, in Pittsburgh, if you've never been here, our jail is in, like, the prime real estate of downtown Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's clearly where they shouldn't have built the jail.
I don't know. I think it's kind of fun,
No, put a jail in a place where it needs development, not in the middle of downtown where you could have built, like, an office tower or maybe another building for Point Park or something.
I think it's just easier for them.
I understand that.
Less travel.
You could have built it in Lake Carrick. Could have built it in the Hill District. Could have built it in another part of the city. And it's Allegheny County Jail. You could have built it like where the old airport is. It didn't have to be whatever.
Yeah, but I've had people come in. One guy's tried to sell me his watch. Other people just ask if they can do work like clean the windows and stuff like that. I'm like, that's my job. What am I going to do then?
I think they're just full of crap. Anyways, another story that I kind of found interesting was Toys R Us is now no more.
Right.
They completely went away. So they were selling down all of the toys. So this was the last weekend. And there was this feel-good story out there where a man in Raleigh, North Carolina, went to the Toys R Us, wrote a check for $1 million, and bought all of the toys and then donated them to, like, local charities.
Aww.
But here's the thing that gets me. I've been part of store liquidations before. If you're in the last 2 or 3 days, these are the biggest swag toys in the history of the world.
Yeah.
These kids are not getting the prime toys.
Yeah.
They're getting like the stuff that they couldn't sell at a discount over the last month and a half.
But for kids who don't have anything,
but isn't that more
like
I always thought that's like the same thing that people always say, like at Thanksgiving, like, "Oh, we're going to do a can drive." You're not giving them the good stuff. You're giving them like stuff that you're trying to get rid of. And so everybody just gets like year-old like cream of mushroom soup and stuff like that. And so you're a kid, you're like, you're kind of down on your luck, you want a toy, and then all of a sudden you get like this D-level, Barbie that they couldn't sell that has like 2 arms missing.
Yeah, but it's better than nothing.
Honestly, I think it's better than nothing, but to be honest, I would have said to the guy, "Why don't you take your $1 million, buy off Amazon, and get fresh toys for the kids?"
I don't know. I mean, I don't appreciate him helping Toys R Us at all, just because I'm angry with them, but,
Yeah, Toys R Us, that whole situation was complete crap.
Yeah.
That was essentially super rich people playing with money and then turning it into total crap.
And then blaming millennials.
Millennials.
What else is there to do?
Yeah, there it is. Now, this is a millennial story in which they're trying to appeal to a millennial. Have you ever slept in a waterbed?
No.
Have you heard of a waterbed?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been around waterbeds, but I've never actually, like, physically slept. I've, like, been in one, but I've never actually slept in one.
Okay.
Like, I remember my friend's parents used to have one, and it was, like, the coolest thing in the world.
Well, that's what they want to hear, because apparently waterbeds reached their peak in the late 80s, in which they were at one point were 15% of the mattress sales in this country were waterbeds, equal to about $2 billion a year back in the late 80s, which would be about $4 billion now. And they're trying to bring them back. And the reason why the inventor, Charlie Hall, says he thinks there's a market is because millennials have never slept in a waterbed, and they could like it. I, on the other hand, have slept in a waterbed, and it's a great concept until you have to move, in which case you feel like you're just never stopping and you're just moving like that for 20 minutes because you want to roll over.
Yeah, see, and honestly, that picture of that waterbed looks exactly like the one that my friend's parents have. And I feel like it's just, that can't be good for your body. You know, that
well,
can't
the whole
be good
point is
for
it's
your
supposed
back.
to contour specifically to your whole thing. But again, the whole problem I always had with them is, like, I remember I slept in, like, when I went to my cousin's house in Chicago, he had a waterbed. So I slept in the waterbed. And when you lay down the first time, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is kind of nice. And you're like, but then you, like, move a little, and then the whole thing moves with you. And you're just like, I can't stop this. This is keeping on going. And it just kind of got annoying.
I think I would absolutely buy a waterbed if they wanted to bring them back. But I don't think I'd keep it as my main bed. You know, it'd be my, like, fun bed whenever I, like, want to take fun naps, you know?
But I would tell you, sex in a waterbed gets interesting. Because, again, the movement.
Well, I'll put it in my sex room then.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. But then you have that and a sex swing, and then that's Alex's sex room. You got to start planning your sex room.
I've planned it. It doesn't involve a sex swing, I don't think. But now it can involve a waterbed. I'm okay with that.
You have planned your sex room. What's in your sex room?
Definitely beanbag chairs.
Multiple?
Yeah, you have to have multiple.
Okay. How many? 5?
No, just 3.
Okay, just 3 beanbag chairs.
Yeah.
And then now a waterbed.
Right.
But no sex swing.
No.
Okay.
Maybe a sex hammock.
There you go.
That's too difficult, I feel.
Yeah, well, you know. Again, maybe get the guy who's good enough to do it, and then that's his test. Soccer player, make sure he's got the abs to do it.
Yeah. Or maybe my sex room is just a big empty room with, like, cushiony floors.
You know what? This is the kind of out of the box thinking that I think
With trampoline floors.
That's almost the waterbed type stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, now this is the last story, and I thought this was pretty interesting. There was someone that was writing that said, I always love when people sit there and say, there are 2 types of people in the world, because I always roll my eyes. I'm like, no, there's several types of people in the world. But these people wrote an article, and he goes, there's 2 types of people in the world. People that get it and people that don't get it. Mm-hmm. People that don't get it are the people that just take life way too seriously.
Yeah.
Like, you've met people in your job that, like, okay, the shirt doesn't fit, and they treat it like you murdered their child.
Right.
And you're just like, okay, you don't get it. It's a T-shirt. We'll fix the problem. You don't have to worry this much about it.
Yeah.
You're really hurting yourself at this point. And so I thought it was interesting because someone was talking about people that get it are the people that understand that, you know what, don't take everything so damn seriously. And this was the quote that I thought really kind of crystallized it. Pete Holmes did a podcast called You Made It Weird and did a guest with Deepak Chopra. And we have a picture of Deepak Chopra. He's like a spiritual guru and all this kind of stuff. And he wrote a book called Why Is God Laughing? Holmes then asked the $100 million question when you have a guy on who's wrote a book called Why Is God Laughing? You go, why is God laughing? And Chopra responded, because God gets the joke. Everything in the universe is a paradox. Nothing makes sense. Why do we exist? Why is there something instead of nothing? At its core, people get and understand the absurdity of life, and it's just how fun it is to go through it and realize it. Mm-hmm. And I hope that in my dealings with the world, I always run into someone. I'm always shocked when I run into someone who doesn't get it, who takes life in something that happens to him super seriously.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there going, okay, you realize this isn't that important.
Right.
I agree with you that we'll fix it or that you shouldn't be ripped off or something like that. But ultimately, this is not that big a deal. So I hope everybody who is out there, especially if you listen to this show, understand the reason why this show exists is because two people on this show hopefully get it. That really at the end of the day, that nothing is that important to get that worked up about.
What's the quote? Don't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out alive.
There. That's from the lady. That'll be on the top of your sex swing. That'll be on the top of your sex room. It'll say, don't worry.
I don't know if I want anything like hinting towards death in my sex room.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of quotes would you want in your sex room?
Very sexual. It just says "good girl" on the wall.
It just says "good girl," but it's directed towards you.
Yeah.
So if
just
the guys do
constant reminder.
So if the guys, it's just too much in the passion. You're just like, "How are you doing?" And he just points at the wall. He just goes like that.
Yeah, and then there's also like a mirror, and above it, it just says, "You're doing a great job."
Yeah. Hell of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that has my face like, hey.
There you go. Hey, again, happy Independence Day to everybody. Hope you're spending it with your family or your friends, or if you're not because you hate them, then God bless that as well. Also, thank you to Alex, being the greatest producer in the history of internet radio. We will be back next week, moving closer and closer to our 2nd anniversary. So it'll be wonderful when we do that. Again, this is the Mike Sasson Show. Thank you to everyone who listened. Now, Alex, before we go, did we have any quotes?
Quotes or comments?
Comments. No?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Anyways, thank you everyone for listening, everyone for watching. Keep supporting internet radio. Keep supporting the River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com. My name's Mike. That's Alex. We'll see you next week. Bye.